continual process. Racing and chassis development is just a continual process of building something, finding its flaws, and building something to fix the flaws. And that's basically what the evolution has been for 27 years. We just continually, we build a chassis, we put it in the customer's hands. They are our best test pilots, and they tell us what it does not do, what it needs, and then we address those issues. But the biggest determining factor in chassis design is, without a doubt, is tire technology. Without making it too deep, and I'd probably have to have some information in front of me to cover it, but we can go back and talk about the different tires that were in use during the time of each one of our chassis, and we can kind of relate it to the design of the chassis. Because the amount of grip that the tires make dictate a lot about how the chassis can be designed and what we can do with it. How rigid it is, how much turning power we need to put in it, and et cetera. And then also, the oval karting has transitioned throughout those years. At one time, back in 1989, we still did a fair amount of road course racing. Now that was kind of on the end of it, but that's whenever everything went to oval, or the Southeast went to oval, and we directed towards the oval and offset chassis. And then through the early offset days, we had a lot of pavement racing. It was split about 50-50, 60-40 for some years, with pavement and dirt. And today we're virtually 100% dirt. I mean, there is a little bit of pavement, but not really enough to produce a product for it. Now, when I say pavement, I'm talking speedway pavement, oval track racing.
Right, and that's when I first, and that's, if people might not know, you know me or of me, and I was running on a Phantom Nemesis back in the day with Todd Miller racing engines. We were running all speedway pavement, and I remember those days. We were traveling the national circuit, and it was like just to even make the race was ungodly real. And I remember it was just, heck, we were racing just for like an eagle or a plaque, and now, it goes from that to racing for these purses of 10,000, 5,000, 50 grand, 51,000. It's just like, do you think, in your opinion, that when with throwing all this big money out, that it's I wouldn't say hurting, but you think it's hurting from people to get in it, and it's kind of like a touchy subject, because I know people are like, oh, it's a great thing, but if it was such a great thing, well, why is the cart counts down everywhere?
Well, it's only a great thing to those who win the money.
Right.
I've never been a great fan of continuing to escalate purses, because karting is a self-sufficient sport, and by what I mean by that is 99 or 98% of the money, whatever, it's the overwhelming majority of the money that's in the sport and paid out comes from within the sport. The races, if they have a $50,000 race, that money has to be generated that day or during that event. So the only thing it's doing is, or the thing that's happening, the reality of it is it's just increasing the cost. So, back in the day, whenever we ran for a trophy, people can say, they can sit here and say that, they wouldn't race if they don't pay X amount of dollars, they won't race. That's a lie. Racers are going to race. Yeah. It just so happens that there's so many choices, because now karting is kind of fragmented, and you've got all these different promoters that are lobbying and competing for the customer base. So they're putting up, they're competing track to track and series to series. So the racers have a choice to go here or go there. But inevitably, I am not in favor of the money. I can't stop it. I can't change it. I understand the racers need to get something back. I do understand that. I'm not saying we need to race for a trophy again. But I am saying that the higher the purses go, the higher the cost goes. So at the end of the day, the only thing we've done is move the sport to a level that some of our customer base can no longer participate. And we're still running for basically the same thing. Back in the day, whenever we went to the Gold Cup, or not the Gold Cup, the speedway pavement that you were referring to, you could buy you a couple sets of tires, a motor, and chassis, and spend 2 days at, Beaver Creek or Chapel Hill or wherever. At the end of the day, you got an Eagle or something, but, the cost was kind of minimal. Now, it's about 10 times that. and there's only one or two guys that's walking away with the purses.
Right, and it seems like, and definitely not knocking, the big teams. You got Jerry, you got Jamie, and all them other stuff. But it's like when it scares, like big money like that, I feel scares away your Saturday night local races because they're not going to, let's face it, they're not going to spend $150, $200 entry fee to run in the back. I mean, yeah, they're going to learn if they try it, but, the way the economy is today is they won't do it. Like you got to be
right.
you got to be going to one of those races willing to spend at least $3,000 in fuel, whatever, tires, whatever you're on, or hotel, and it's kind of nuts because, again, back referring to Speedway payment days, my parents, we were a self-funded team. I didn't have any big sponsors, and we traveled down in a 96 Jeep Cherokee Sport and a 12-foot red trailer, and we were competitive because we could, and they could afford it. Both my parents worked. I was still in high school, but you can't. It's so hard now, and it's so hard to see any steps in the right direction. I mean, you get some of these races you got, down there, especially in the Southeast. The Northeast right now is hurting. We talked about it before we went live. We're hurting up here. Counts are split. You got, this series here and this series over there, and you got the two tire manufacturers playing, with each other. But it's generally hurting us up here. And I know in the Southeast, I mean, I don't know what's going on down there. I really don't kind of try to get involved with the Southeast. I don't travel down there much because, the full-time job and stuff like that. But you can see it on Race Monitor. It's not just up here. It seems like everywhere is kind of split.
Well, the entries or the number of racers at the racetrack is definitely down from what it once was. I mean, karting is not as healthy as it once was. I do think that for the last few years, karting has kind of stabilized. When I say few years, probably about the last 4 to 5 years. Prior to that, karting was in a pretty good decline. It has kind of stabilized some. I think the clone engine helped that some. That's another subject. We don't really want to plow those roads, but I think that that kind of saved it, so to speak. Karting is still a great industry, a great sport. It's hard to get racers to race realistically. A lot of people get into this sport, and instead of setting realistic goals and realistic budgets and picking a racing schedule that fits that, some of them want to start chasing the dreams and chasing the big races. And, I mean, I've seen a lot of people spend a tremendous amount of money chasing, the big races. And if you got the money to do it and you got the talent to do it, that's all fine and well. But I see a lot of people who really should just, pick a local or a regional schedule and racetracks and go and spend an amount of money that makes it pleasurable for them and just leave it right there. Don't try to go and rewrite the record books because it's a dismal outcome if you try to do that.
Right. So we'll get off that subject now. I see everybody sees the success that you've had with all the chassis and stuff like that. Still, my personal favorite was the Nemesis because I wrote it. To this day, I've yet to ride a Recon. I'll probably get on one here, hopefully in the next year or so. But you guys released your APC hubs. I see I heard they sold out pretty quick. And then the brand new thing right now is, of course, the next gen seats. And I got to give it to you. That video of the release was absolutely comical.
Yeah, that worked out pretty good. That actually, Brittany and I mean, we did it off camera before we did it on, but we actually had a conversation similar to that before we ever sat down to do the video. We were sitting there having a similar conversation, and I said, that we need to do the video just like this, and so we did. But the seat has been great. We basically took what we learned with Select. We made some vast improvements on it. Select's been around a long time, and it is probably one of the greatest seats. And we made a lot of changes to the to make the next gen. Driver comfort was the main thing, and thus far, and I'm sure there's people out there that don't like the next gen, but thus far, customer satisfaction has been phenomenal. We've had a distributor tell me the other day that a customer called him and wanted him to bring a seat to the track. So he did, and actually he didn't even ride Phantom. He rode another brand of kart, and which is great. That's the reason that we put a different name on it, so other customers of other manufacturers will use it. And but anyway, he later that day he got the seat from the dealer. Later that day, he walked back by, and the guy said, "Man, that is the most comfortable seat I have ever sit in." And he said, "It's the kart works great, blah blah blah." And he was just ecstatic about the seat. And the dealer said, "You've already put it in?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "I figured you would took it home and mounted it, and reweighed the kart out." He said, "No, I went straight and bolted it in." And he said, "I'm running." I said, "I finished second."
Oh my God!
Yeah, so we've been, it's been great. Right now we're trying to get enough tooling and enough inventory to supply the demand, but thus far we've been extremely happy with it.
So now you did this next gen with the seat. Can you give the show here maybe a handle on what you guys might have working in the near future and something else that you're possibly doing?
Well, we're continually working on a lot of different things. We're working on another body. We don't have it completed yet. We've done testing. We've done some racing with it as of late. We've tried some different things, and the body is kind of a touchy deal. Everybody's really set on our Seraph design, and we've learned some stuff that we think will help, but getting it to the customers to where they will accept it and can use it and can take its benefits, that's going to be kind of our tricky part. So, we're still working on it. It's probably going to be many weeks or maybe another couple of months before we can actually say, here it is. But, we are working on a body, and it will most likely carry the next gen name as well. But, other than that, the Recon is still fresh. It's actually less than a year old. We'll be coming up on its first birthday here in September, but it's been greatly received. Other than that, we're always working on little pieces, knickknacks, but that's about it for the big names items that we're going to be able to do in the foreseeable future.
So now to end this segment here, one, I didn't know if everybody realized or seen what's going on Facebook. Phantom Racing Chassis and Harrill, they were actually at Millbridge last night and were actually giving the Outlaw karts a go. Is this something that you're planning on doing too, as well as the regular karting?
Possibly. The Outlaw karts are actually more of a West Coast thing. They're mainly, that's something that mainly happens in, I think, Red Bluff, California is where it started. And it's throughout, some through the Midwest. But the only track around here that really runs them is Millbridge. And actually, Millbridge happens to be only about 10 miles from our shop. And it's actually caught on pretty well. They run it on Wednesday night. And, they started out here 5 or 6, 7 years ago. Well, probably maybe 10 years ago. And at first, it was pretty slow. But, they stuck with it. And some of the leading manufacturers in that, like QRC and RFC and SKE and all those guys are coming out here. Actually Jimmy Elledge, who's now the owner of QRC, he's actually has 2 homes and he's out here a lot. And so it's starting to grow, but it's really small on the East Coast. But since it's 10 miles from the shop, we went over there and watched, and a lot of people asked us, and we put one together, and we borrowed a motor from actually Jimmy Elledge, the QRC guy. He let us have a motor last night. And, we went over there and made some laps. And started out the night pretty good. We qualified second, run fourth in the heat race. And then we had engine problems in the main event. Didn't get finished. But that's honestly, it was a lot of fun. What we'll do with it, I'm not 100% sure yet. If, we've got people wanting cars. But our main goal, our main focus is going to continue to be karting that PRC's been known for the last 25 years.